Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is our 10th episode for the No One Hockey Podcast, and this should be the part 3 and final part of our
hopefully
playoff breakdown and grading. We have done the qualifiers in the first round. In the second round, now we hope to do second, conference, and finals.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Also, we would like to thank you for all of the new subscribers. We are very appreciative. Right now,
Already hit our...
sitting at 50, which was our goal for the end of December. Maybe we can hit...
And it's not even...
Honestly, if we can aim for 65 at the end of the year now.
65.
A little bit. You know what? Because The Mandalorian is trending. It's good. It's a good series to help grow that. Also, be sure to check out our recent reviews and
all the stuff that happened today in hockey, maybe in this podcast.
I would also like to just say, enjoy retirement, Johnny Boychuk. Your injury terrified the crap out of me because I thought you died, and happy life. Also, Sergachev. I hate Vegas. I hate Florida taxes. Congratulations on your $4.8 million.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's move to the second round. The first seed, Philadelphia Flyers, lose in 7 games to the 6th seed, New York Islanders. What are we giving Philly?
Go through the games game by game.
Oh God,
we're not making
7 games.
I'm not making this mistake again.
Okay. All right.
So you said
Game
Philly,
1.
Yeah,
Game 1. Islanders win 4-0. Game 2. Philly wins in overtime 4-3. Game 3. Islanders win 3-1. Game 4. Islanders win again 3-2. So they're up 3-1 in the series. Game 5. Philly wins 4-3 in overtime. Game 6. Philly wins in double overtime 5-4. Game 7, Islanders win 4-0.
I'm gonna give Philly a 3 because one thing I would
really not just this.
I'm just
okay. So this is
can we talk about their prior series? Cause
yes, after beating the Montreal Canadiens in 6, and also being the first seed in them.
I expect more than that.
No, I'm happy with this.
And the thing is
what are you giving them, a 3?
Yes, and the reason being is that if you look at every single game that Philly won, they won by 1 goal. Every single one of those games. If you look at the Islanders, with the exception of 1 game, they were winning by at least 2 goals. With 2 games where they won 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
They shut them out twice. So.
Damn it. Ow! There's a globalist out there that thinks that's some sick karma. I am going to recycle that, by the way. So, no, I'm giving Philadelphia 6. This is the step in the right direction for them. No longer are they the younger brother complex, I feel like, to the Pittsburgh Penguins, which they've been in the past. This year was great steps forward for them. Figuring out their goaltending situation, rather than using 7 pissing goalies last year, they figured out Carter Hart was the guy.
One thing I would like to clarify with what I said about Philly and them giving them the 3. I'm basing this just off of the way that they came into the playoffs, and the way they performed in the playoffs. Right. So I'm not really counting the entire season as a whole.
That's fine.
That's just.
I'm just saying that this is that the playoffs also represent a step in the right direction. Sean Couturier looks solid. They compare him a bit to Mark Scheifele. He's not as good as Mark Scheifele, even though he went 1 spot behind him. That being said, he's one of the better players in that draft. Honestly, there's a lot of things that the Flyers did really well. The thing is at the end of it, the reason this series goes 7 games is because Philadelphia wins 3 games all in overtime.
That again goes into what
There was a joke here about how bad Philly was in regulation. They needed all these overtimes. That being said, I would have given Philly a 4 if they lost in 5, but the fact they made it to 7 is good. That being said,
it's true.
We are about to realize this is going to be a trend of the second round, is making it to 7 and losing.
Yeah.
But no, I gave Philly a 6. I think this is a step in the right direction for them, being able to make it to the second round. And they honestly look like world beaters on the way there. The chances, they had good chances there. Not too much to say. I think we're just gonna move on from there. Next is the 4th seed Boston Bruins lose in 5 games to the 2nd seed Tampa Bay Lightning after beating the Carolina Hurricanes in 5.
Go through the games.
Boston's is a rough time.
Oh boy.
They get beat pretty bad. Worth noting, no Tuukka Rask at this point.
Yep.
Okay, so game 1, we get a really good start, and this is where it all goes downhill after this. Boston wins game 1, 3-2. Tampa wins game 2, 4-3 in overtime. Tampa wins game 3, 7-1. Tampa wins game 4, 3-1. Tampa wins in double overtime, 3-2, to eliminate the Boston Bruins.
You're giving them first, because
I'm giving them first, okay. Boston is getting... Boston's going to get a 5, and here's why. They don't have Tuukka Rask. They didn't have Tuukka Rask, okay. Boston is very middle of... Well, actually, no, I'll give them a 4. Because...
We're talking about the President's Trophy winner. I would like to...
Yes, but you know what? This is not really the President's Trophy winner. This isn't really. Because the President's Trophy winner was for the 2019-2020 season. This was like a 2020 tournament. Let's be honest here.
Yep.
This was a tale of 2 different seasons. All that this playoffs gave you was your roster that you had going in and a spot in the playoffs, and that was it. Everything else had to be earned. Boston made Carolina, who I thought would beat them the first round, look really bad. They cruised through it. Not much adversity there. They were able to come back from a lot of games I didn't know if they would be able to. This series, it's funny, this series echoes exactly how the 17-18 series went. In 2017-18, that was the year Vegas and Washington went to the finals. Tampa played Boston in the second round. Boston won game 1, and Tampa won the next 4. This is very similar to that, but I also think that it's really annoying because it shows how much Tampa was such a better team than Boston, where Boston has a lot of age running against them a bit. An aging core. Tampa doesn't have that. Tampa didn't have that, and it showed. Tampa's age was mostly in their depth, and you can afford that when you're only using them as depth and not as key contributors. Yaroslav Halak did the best he could, but he wasn't enough in this series.
Yeah, and I never got to give Boston my rating.
Yes, I was going to let you do it right after I was done.
Oh, okay, well,
I promise I'm almost done. I was just finishing up.
Honestly, probably 4 as well.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
And no, just to finish mine, I would say that honestly, I think there's a big crossroads here because you don't really know where the next step is for Boston, if it's going to be downward or upwards. They went to the finals the year before this, so it's tough to say. You said 4. Any?
Yep.
Is that it, or do you?
Yeah, you pretty much said everything.
Okay. So the next one is
how many teams are we through? So we're through 2 teams, right?
We're yes.
And
we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams left, I think.
7 teams left.
Yeah, 4 right here. These 4 eventually.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Oh, no, 6, sorry. My bad. Because I didn't drop it from there. Anywho, so the next series is the one that I was the most interested in. The Vancouver Canucks fall to the 5th seed Vancouver Canucks fall to the Vegas Golden Knights in 7 games after beating the Minnesota Wild in the qualifying round 3-1 and the St. Louis Blues in this first round 4-2. What do we give Vancouver?
7.
8.
Like, they were awesome.
Bo Horvat was the goddamn captain. He was leading his team in goals. He was performing.
He was awesome. Thatcher Demko making, what is it?
Oh, we get there. Do you want to go through the games
2
first?
goals let in and 120
Let
shots?
me go through the games, okay?
Yeah.
Game 1, Vegas wins 5-0. Demko gets pulled after letting in 5 goals. Markstrom gets pulled after letting in 5 goals. Demko made 5 saves on 5 shots. This is about to become an early theme that we don't realize. Next game, Vancouver Canucks storm back to win 5-2. Game 3, Golden Knights win 3-0. Game 4, Golden Knights win again 5-3. Game 5, Vancouver beats Vegas 2-1 despite being outshot 17-43. Game 6, Vancouver wins 4-0 despite being outshot 22-48. Game 7, unfortunately, that's where it ends. Vegas wins 3-0 and outshoot, but 2 of them are empty netters, and outshoot the Vancouver Canucks 36 to 14. What did you give Vancouver?
I give him a 7.
I gave him an 8. I love, honestly, this team has
I'm excited.
I'm excited for this team.
I am excited.
Now, that being said, I'm also terrified because they lost a lot this year.
Yep.
They lost a lot of
I'm
presence.
terrified as the teams that the team has
they lose Tyler.
unofficially relocated to Calgary.
They lost Markstrom to Foley, who we knew we were going to lose, but still, it's a loss. Stetcher, Tanev, it's quite a lot. But that being said, the system that Vancouver has is probably one of the best ones in the league right now. Quinn Hughes looked great in the playoffs, looked totally at home. Demko was an Old Testament god that deserved all the praise.
Yep.
All of our worship.
One thing I will say is that I'm curious to see in this upcoming season, especially with probably how short it's going to be, how much they're going to use him and how much they're going to use Braden Holtby.
Yes, that's true.
I'm curious to see how well Demko's going to do in that basis.
I wonder how well they'll do in an all-Canadian division.
Yeah, that too. Now, one thing I think that we need to point out is that as much as some people are like, oh yeah, well they lost and they didn't go, like, because there's some people who are saying
the expectations.
They're like, oh yeah, it's Thatcher Demko's fault. He let in 3 goals in the last game.
No, that's not even
utter bullshit.
He didn't let in 3 goals. He let in 1.
Yeah, he let in 1.
On
2
a
of them
power
were empty
play.
netters. Yeah, it was power play goal, and he was standing on his head. Without Demko, that series does not.
They were never going to blame Demko though. If there are people that are blaming Demko, they don't.
There are people that were blaming Demko. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Anywho, let's move on, Kay.
But one thing there's one more thing I need to say. Mm-hmm. This is the team that knocked out the defending Stanley Cup champions
in 6
games,
and they were one of the 2 teams to really make it this far that had to go through the qualifying rounds. Next is this is the one that shook me hard. The 2nd seed Colorado Avalanche fall to the 3rd seed Dallas Stars in 7 games after beating the Arizona Coyotes in 5.
I would like to first say that going into the playoffs, I predicted the Colorado Avalanche to win the Stanley Cup.
I had Colorado.
I had them winning the Cup.
I had Colorado Vegas conference final, and I had a Philly.
Who was winning the Cup in your thing?
I had Colorado, but I had a Philly.
Okay, but you still had Colorado.
I had a Philly Tampa final, I think, but I had Philly winning it over Tampa at the time.
So you're gonna have a Colorado Philly final, and Colorado wins that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had Colorado winning the Stanley Cup again.
I was shook.
Do you know who I had them beating?
Mm-hmm.
I had them beating Boston. I had Boston losing 2 years in a row.
Okay, so what's your score, by the way? Or do you want to go through the games first?
Go through the games first, and then you give your score.
Game 1, Dallas wins 5-3. Game 2, Dallas wins 5-2. Game 3, Colorado wins 6-4. Game 4, Dallas wins 5-4. Game 5, Colorado wins 6-3. Game 6, Colorado wins 4-1. Game 7, Dallas wins 5-4 in overtime, and Joel Kiviranta gets a hat trick.
You go first.
What am I giving Colorado? I'm giving Colorado... It's funny. I'm going to give Colorado a 5. Here's why. This is a possible dynasty in the making. Their team is unreal.
They have
their depth. They
so
have
much
depth
talent.
on depth. The
Arguably,
the Tyson Berry
the
trade looks
second
great.
best player in the National Hockey League, arguably. You know,
He is the second best player.
You could say him. You could say Draisaitl, but then you could
No,
also
no, you
but
can't.
But you could also say.
No, you can't.
You could say
Nobody ever said, "Oh yeah, you know Yari Curry, he's definitely better than Mario Lemieux." Shut the hell up, Super Mario, man. Then this is exactly what it is. Leon Draisaitl is the Yari Curry to Connor McDavid's Gretzky,
Well, yeah, but
and he's not better than Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon is the second best player in the National Hockey
one thing
League.
I would like to
Fight me.
One thing I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying some people. One thing that I absolutely love about McKinnon though,
He's a full all-around player.
He's a full all-around player, and it's very rare with teams where you're going to see the captain get into some of the scrums and kind of be a physical force, not just a force behind the bench, not just a lead. Like he leads by example.
He reminds me a lot of which is funny because I wasn't alive when this guy played, but he reminds me a lot of a Cam Neely mixed with a bit of Eric Lindros. Like he has that power forward essence to him. That can really just
I can't remember who it was, but there was a player who I think if I remember the play properly, threw a questionable hit. And Nathan McKinnon grabs this guy by the jersey.
Like, fuck it, let's go.
Gets into a fight with this guy and absolutely beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
He beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And you know what?
What are you giving
That's
them?
what you need.
What are you giving them?
What am I giving them? I'm giving them a 4. Because
here's the problem. Their
Their
goaltending ran out though. They ran out of goalies. They were playing Michael goddamn Hutchinson and made it 7. And honestly, too, it's
Michael Hutchinson's a hard worker, and that's about it.
I will say though, like this is a step. It's funny. This is a step in the right direction, but also too, I'd be getting a tiny bit impatient because we've got to this point where you've been like Colorado has ever since 17-18 has made the playoffs. I believe every time except once, where St. Louis made it in on the last day. They beat Colorado on game 82. And you're making it to like the second round, the third round, I think they did one time. But you need that next step. You don't want to get stuck. Because if you get stuck, you get Washington Capitals syndrome. And some teams, like the Washington Capitals, finally win it all. But some teams, like the San Jose Sharks, don't.
Yep.
So I think that's a big warning sign. Now, shall we move on to the conference finals?
Yep.
So,
let's keep going.
This is the Eastern Conference Finals. The New York Islanders fall in 6 games to the second seed Tampa Bay Lightning after beating the Florida Panthers in 4 games in the qualifiers, after beating the Washington Capitals in 5 games in the first round, and beating the Philadelphia Flyers in 7 games in the second round. What are we giving them?
What am I giving
the Islanders?
7 or 8. Maybe
Islanders
7.
Islanders get a 7.5.
I'll give them a 7, but it's really probably. I don't like going 0.5.
You don't have to. I can do it.
I'll do 7, but it's really close to an 8.
7, yes. The thing is with the Islanders, this Islanders team is no joke. And honestly, it's funny because you look at the Islanders team and you don't understand why they're so good. But everyone is cued in on the system. Everyone knows the role they need to play. And where the hell did Pollock come from? It's at Ryan Pollock? I always forget his first name. Because there's Pellick and Pollock.
Oh, yeah.
Which freaking messed me up.
Of course it did.
But Pollock,
now,
where the hell did he come from?
One of the biggest difference makers with the Islanders are, right? Barry Trotz.
Oh, yes.
Barry Trotz.
Barry Trotz is the best coach in the National Hockey League.
No question.
Not a single question in my mind.
A lot of other coaches I like, but
it's funny. Matt Barzal.
What he has done with that team, the defensive hockey
that
he has instilled in that team.
This team wins. It's funny because this team was 1 overtime goal away from making the 7 because they won overtime in game. And it's funny because people thought the Islanders are going to roll over and die in this series because Game 1, do you remember Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final?
No, I don't.
Tampa Bay wins 8-2. It showed that sick Nikita Kucherov pass where he rolls it up his stick.
Oh, where
over
he
him.
flips the
Game
stick.
2.
Oh my
Game
God.
2.
That was so nifty.
Tampa beats Islanders 2-1. Kucherov scores with 9 seconds left in the third period.
Disgusting.
Game 3. The Islanders win 5-3. Worth noting, no Braden Point in the lineup. That's why I thought that the Islanders were dead in 5. Game 4, Tampa wins 4-1. Game 5, Islanders win in double overtime. Jordan Eberle scores 2-1. Game 6, Tampa wins in overtime. Anthony Cirelli to send the Tampa Bay Lightning to the finals. So yeah, no, I'm giving them an 8 or 7.5. They really played well, and honestly, they made it farther than any team in the qualifiers went. Like they won more series than they lost.
And
who's
their goalie that they have right now? They have
Grace.
Yeah.
Thomas Grace is fine.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to have him next year, but they have Semyon Varlamov.
Yeah, but one thing that I think has been very interesting with this team is the way that they've been able to lose players, but still.
Well, they've used their goaltending tandem very smartly.
Yeah, because I mean, like think of all the players that they've lost and still done very well. It's funny.
Well,
I'd argue
there's
once
not too
once they lost Tavares, they seemed to do better.
But that's because it became that. I agree with that, and that's because it became a more of a system of players working towards a common focus.
And it's one of those things where I think it helped them for a few reasons. Obviously, Barry Trotz was brought in, but players stepped up because they saw that when Tavares left, there was a hole, and they needed to fill that. So players stepped up, and the team got better as a whole because you can't just rely on one player.
Okay. Do you want to go to the
Unless
West
your
now?
name is Edmonton.
Do you want to go to the West?
Yes.
This is the one I like. This actually is a callback to our first ever video on YouTube. The third seed Dallas Stars defeat the first seed Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games.
I was so happy.
After Vegas beat Chicago in 5 and Vancouver in 7. What are we giving Vegas?
That's a tricky one.
Want me to go through the games? Game 1, Dallas wins 1-0. Game 2, Vegas wins 3-0. Game 3, Dallas wins 3-2 in overtime. Radulov scores 31 seconds in. Game 4, Dallas wins 2-1. Game 5, Dallas wins 3-2 in overtime on the power play.
What do I give Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky.
Just
Maybe a 5. And like it's one of those things where it's tricky because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they got to the conference final.
What are you giving them? What are you giving them?
I'm giving them a 5.
Mm-mm.
But
I'm giving you a 3, you
but you could
king
go
losers.
Lower. You could go
You
lower.
losers.
But you could
You suck.
You could
You
go lower.
losers.
Like I said, the reason I'm giving them a 5 is because I'm trying to find that balance between.
They were primed for greatness. You
Because
losers.
this is a team that. Yes.
You couldn't score on the Dallas Stars. Losers.
Hey, hear me out.
Losers.
Hear me out. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that I'm just in my mind. I'm trying to find that balance between they made the conference final.
They had such an attitude problem in this series, in this playoffs.
I'd argue the Instagram account owner has an attitude problem with not posting tributes to the players you get rid of.
I like how you get so mad with this. I'm the one that brings it up all the time, not you.
Yes, because I didn't even
Stop
realize
stealing
it, and
my
then I
keys.
thought, oh my god, I
But
haven't realized how horrible this
is.
This shit needs to change.
It's hilarious because this
I
team
didn't get to
was
finish my point.
Well, I didn't know you had one.
Yes, well, what I was saying is that I'm trying to balance that mindset of they made the conference finals. That's an accomplishment between they were expected to go further.
They've made it there before.
And they barely beat Vancouver. Barely.
Yeah. No, Vancouver was the witch that hexed them on the way out.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's honestly, I don't want to talk too much about this because I want to get to our last 2 because we have 25 minutes in.
Yeah.
So, The Stanley Cup Finals. The Tampa Bay Lightning win in 6 games over the Dallas Stars. What are we giving the Dallas Stars?
Giving them a Dallas Stars? 9.
Dallas, you get a 9.
Nobody expected
Not
this.
because of your future.
If you tell me that you said the Dallas Stars were going to win the Stanley Cup in 2020, you are lying. So shut up.
Also, too, I would say Dallas Stars was the team that everyone looked at when they saw the top 4 of the seedings in the West, and they were like, "What the hell are they doing here?"
Yeah.
Dallas was always the man out. Rick Bowness worked that team into shape. That guy is one of the best coaches in the league. Great job. You got the job for proper head coaching there. Everyone was cued in. It was funny. Ben Bishop goes down.
Anton Hudobin.
Ben Bishop goes down in the second round. Ben Bishop is one of the best goalies in the NHL. I will fight you. He is one of the best goalies, but when he came back, he was a shell. He was a very, very weak shell. Hudobin, who was a journeyman goaltender in every way, shape, or sense of the word, who had previously played in, I believe he won the Stanley Cup, actually, with the Boston Bruins in 2011. Yes, he was the 3rd goalie on that. It was Thomas Rask Hudobin.
Tim Thomas. I forgot about him.
Yeah, so did a lot of people.
I think the only reason I remember him is because I had hockey cards of him.
Yeah. And he had that weird different mask design.
Yes.
But anyway,
of course you would know that.
But
the
the
goalie
thing with
masks.
this Dallas team was they got a lot of power from everywhere, from places they probably didn't deserve to. Jamie Oleksiak looked great on the defense. He was, and I don't think I've ever said that sentence in my life. Jamie Oleksiak really carried that defense. Wow. Joel Kiviranta looked amazing.
Fantastic.
Denis Gurianov is an up-and-coming sniper. John Klingberg and Miro Heiskanen were like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but the best kind. Those two ran the frickin' defense. They got top-notch minutes. Top-notch minutes and used them effectively. Their offense was a little snake bitten,
Yep.
but they were still able to cope with it until the Stanley Cup final. Rip. Well, that guy played through a lot of injuries, though.
Yeah, but
So, what did you give them?
I gave him a 9.
I gave them a 9, I think, too. Tampa Bay Lightning.
10. They won the Stanley Cup.
10. Easy 10.
They won the Stanley Cup.
Everything worked for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and honestly,
it's all worth it if you win the Stanley Cup.
This playoffs was such a good story for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And I said this going into the finals, that the only way the Tampa Bay Lightning redeem themselves for the biggest embarrassment in the history of sports, was to win the cup the very next year.
Yep.
If they waited a year, if they went to the cup final and lost, that's not enough. They lost in 7 in triple overtime. That's not enough.
That'd be worse.
It would be worse.
But I will say this:
they needed the Stanley Cup.
This was an interesting story for Tampa. This whole playoffs, and I'll explain.
Maroon went back to back.
Tampa goes. They don't finish first. They go into the season. There's a huge cloud over them as being the biggest chokers in the history of the NHL. So they go into the first round.
This is not too far after Washington.
They go into the first
and
round. No,
this
is max to the limit.
Oh yes.
The memes you could have made for a year.
The memes
were
that
amazing.
I did make.
Anyway, Tampa goes up against their boogeyman in the Columbus Blue Jackets. There is no second game. They beat them in 5. There will be no repeat for miracles. They move on to the proper President's Trophy winners that were in their spot the year before. They beat them in 5.
I thought you said they weren't the proper President's Trophy winners.
They were the President's Trophy winners because they won this season. They were the best team in the league in the season.
So, the official President's Trophy winner.
But listen.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
They then go to round 3. And round 3 was not necessarily a huge story on Tampa as a team other than the fact that they had to play a defensive team. It was, in my opinion, a trial by fire of John Cooper. Because John Cooper, I still don't think that he's as good of a coach as Barry Trotz. I don't think he ever will be.
Oh, no. I don't think it's that close.
But I will not call John Cooper a bad coach anymore because of the series against
I don't
the
think he's a
Islanders.
bad coach, but I don't think
said
you can put
he was
him on
a coach. I think he's a little bit elevated, but you know what? They beat the Isles.
That's true.
They beat the Isles, and you know what? They beat the Isles. Not badly, but there were times where they were everywhere.
I know, but you can't put him in the
Then
same league as
we
Barry
get to the
Trotz.
finals, and this is the big one.
And
We've
you know what I want to
seen them
say?
fall so much. Just wait,
Okay,
wait.
Okay, because I do have one.
And then there's this moment. They lose game 1.
Oh, we're talking the Stamkos moment.
Game 2, they win. So maybe this is different. They're not just going to roll over. Stammer comes back in game 3, scores immediately. Then he leaves, but he scored. That was the good feel-good moment.
1 minute. But that doesn't matter.
But then this is the moment that I thought we were at an interesting crossroads. Now, there's a lot of overtimes in this series. I think the 2 of the last 3 games are overtime. Game 4 and Game 5. Tampa wins in Game 4 in overtime. Game 5, Sergachev scores to put him up 2-1. Sergachev's face screams that he just won the Stanley Cup. But we've seen this before when a team really thinks they've got all the momentum. Dallas ties it, and Dallas wins in overtime. I thought they could have messed it up there. I really thought they could have been playing in their own head. They go on to win Game 6, and win the Stanley Cup. And that was it. Like, they needed all of that adversity to do it.
Yeah. One thing that I will say is I think it was important that Tampa played the Islanders before Dallas.
Yeah.
Because because Dallas and New York, like the Islanders.
If they played Philadelphia, this series is different. They only win in 7.
The Islanders are kind of a similar team to Dallas in the sense of the style that they play.
They mostly play with an underskilled team.
With a defensive
Underskilled team a bit, I would say.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying
yes, but with a defensive scheme.
A defensive scheme. Mm-hmm. And I think Tampa beating the Islanders and beating that defensive scheme
8-2.
up by Barry Trotz. Mm-hmm. I think that really prepares them to play against Dallas.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I think it does. I think it has a good positive impact.
Do you think that's all we have on this one?
I mean, we have a whole video about 30 minutes of us talking about them winning the Stanley Cup. So go watch that.
So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below what you thought of the teams that we talked about in the playoffs, and whether you agreed or disagreed with us. We are all ears. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at Nolan Hockey Podcast. We're always looking for followers there, and we will always update you when new content comes out.
Yes.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you.